Hey there, Hulkamaniacs and True Believers. My name is Austin, and this is the Newcomb E10A. But before we get into the details of this amp, I want to let everybody know what I'm playing on. This is a Gibson S1 from the early 80s, and this is a 2x12 Sun Model 3, but the original PA speakers have been removed. In their place, there's a black powder and a Cannabis Rex, both made by Eminence. Back to the amp. This is a fully restored late 1940s lunchbox style head. So the look is pure vintage. In the power section, we've got two 6V6s pushing about 10 watts. And the first preamp stage, you'll find a 6SJ7, which is a Pinto design, giving about 3 times the gain of what normally is found in other amps. And the second preamp stage, you'll find a 6SC7, and then for the phase inverter, a classic 12AX7. On the front of the amp, we've got 2 gain, a high cut, and a master volume. And additionally, we have a pull fat for anyone that wants to beef up their tone. On the back, you'll find 4, 8, and 16 ohm taps and your speaker output jack. Alright, a good place to start always is with a clean tone. Now this amp does break up pretty fast, but I have something dialed in that'll show you, the scope of the tone, starting with that nice bass line. High cut is dialed in pretty significantly to roll off that top end, smooth it out. Master volume in this gain stage at 3, pretty modest, so I have a lot of room. I do not have this gain stage engaged, but I do have the fat pull engaged. So it's going to be a little bit warmer, a little more mellow, but not tubby. It's one of the things that's good about this amp. So even with just some simple cowboy chords, you can hear the note accountability, you can hear how smooth it is. And what's great is when you start to dig in a little bit with your right hand, you can hear the push of the amp. So it's very much an amp that you play as much as you play your guitar. It doesn't have that real modern compression, sort of flatline stuff. It's very reactive to the player's touch. Also, this is a good time to mention that it handles pedals very well, things that you put on the front end. I can just play the same series of cowboy chords, add a little bit of reverb, just stack the full amount reverb on it. In this case, using a Holier Grail, and sounds completely natural. It doesn't feel like it's at odds with the amp. It handles a lot of things in the signal path extremely well. Alright, I've only made a couple of minor changes, but the beauty of this amp is that you can hear a significant difference in what's being expressed with just these minor changes. This gain stage, master volume, still where they were. I have disengaged the fat pull, so it's been sort of trimmed down, that mellow, warmer, richer part has been a little bit more leveled out. It's a little bit more top friendly. Also, I've dialed the high cut to about 5, so it's sitting at noon, so we put a lot more treble back in the signal. I've also moved to my bridge pickup now, and you'll hear that there's a certain bite. Now part of that is the guitar. It's a little bit stringy by nature, but it almost takes on this transistor radio effect, which is really cool, and you'll hear it in certain chord shapes. Still has the crunch that kicks in when you dig in a little bit with your right hand. Still a high level of note accountability, and it's still definitely got that special something that you get from a tube state amplifier, but it takes on that neat characteristic in the high end. Now I want to open the amp up a little bit, let it do some heavy lifting, show you the richer tones, higher gain. Basically, I've rolled off some of the high end, once again, smooth things out, but put a little bit more of this gain stage back in, and this one I've re-engaged the pull fat, and I've dialed in quite a bit of gain. So, you know, volume still pretty much where it was. Everything else, you know, it's smoothed out, but it's also pushing a lot harder. And I'm going to do actually this split between my middle and my neck pickups, and no other effects in the line. And one of the things I really enjoy is that even when you're pushing the gain and you're starting to get a lot of breakup, you can still hear in more sophisticated chords than just, you know, your regular fifths and things like that. If you put in a ninth or something, you can hear that note definition once again. Beautiful. But you can also do some sort of choppier fifth chord kind of riffs and have it sound as biting as you might want it to. You can hear too that when, you know, you sort of maybe rest your right hand, you choke a little bit, you can hear that it cleans up. There's not a ton of feedback, a ton of residual noise. It's very clean for how pushed it gets. The sustain on it is beautiful too, for things where your right hand maybe isn't as active, but you still want a lot of gain. So in the case of that, you can hear when I'm hitting those octaves, it doesn't feel like it's tapering off. It's got a really beautiful envelope to it, actually. Very responsive in the attack. Decay feels very natural. It doesn't feel abrupt. It doesn't feel overly compressed or anything like that. So very sweet sound. Now I've dialed back both of the gain stages a fair amount. I haven't rolled them out completely. Definitely not pushing like I was. Everything else, settings are largely intact, and I want to demonstrate how responsive the amp remains, how subtle and dynamic it is with a varied sense of right hand playing, maybe not with a pick, maybe using your fingers. And I've also put a delay pedal on the front end to again demonstrate how clean and rich and how well it handles effects pedals of different types. In this case, it's a Boss Giga delay, set to something sort of lush, I guess you could say. And I've also selected my middle pickup, and you get things like this. So, as you probably heard, it's easy to get sort of soundscapey, lush environments out of this amp. It's very dynamic, very versatile, beautiful sounding amp all in all. And for a different perspective from a different player, I'm going to turn things over to my friend Matt, and he'll guide you through some other demonstrations.
Hey, I'm Matt. Austin's already told you quite a bit about this amp, so I'm just going to play a few more things for you. This is a Fender JM66 Jazzmaster. I've got the neck pickup and the bridge pickup both engaged here. The high cut's on about 8, the master volume's on about 4. The fat pull switch is engaged, and it is pretty high, and the other gain knob is on about 6. I really like the way you can play really dense chords with this amp, and even though it's distorted, you can still tell what's going on.
Again, this was the Newcomb E10A, and thanks for tuning in, and I hope our demonstration was helpful. And given what recording equipment we had to work with, I hope it sounded half as good as it does being in the room with it, because in person this amp is absolutely amazing.
So check out Dell at Megatone Amps in Greensboro, North Carolina.